Blowing up the dam, and I said it and I say it loud and clear. They'll blow up that dam.
Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is somehow causing some sparks, questions here and there.
This is not building like a nuclear power. This is a hydroelectric power to go from darkness to light.
The world is shifting. Those that understand will understand, but those that doesn't will stay behind.
In the 21st century, so the most powerful power is like information.
It's a Pan-African project. It's our second Adwa as an Ethiopian.
My organization and many prominent Ethiopians in the diaspora has been in the forefront to debunk that fake news. And it's our pride, it's our dignity.
Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? We're back with another amazing episode for you guys to enjoy. This week on My Africa Show, we'll be talking about one of the most significant, well talked about project that is a pride not only for us Ethiopians but also for Africans all across the globe. Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And when we talk about this project, this massive mega project is not only pride for us as an Ethiopians but also as an Africans, that it shows that we have to be able to use our own resource for our own development, which is somehow causing some sparks, questions here and there about water resource, regional diplomacy, and also sustainable development regional-wise and at the same time internationally on the global stage. So this week on My Africa Show, we'll be talking about the hot issues regarding Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam with Dr. Naugao all the way from US. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, through the technology that we have. Shall I say good morning or good evening?
Both.
Good morning
almost.
and good evening.
It's almost like, yeah.
Perfect. So as a diaspora and also as an Ethiopian that's living abroad, can you tell us the feeling, especially as you have engaged in this process, in the project in different terms from the initial point? So tell us, what is the feeling that GERD gives you as an Ethiopian, as a diaspora?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, GERD is a symbol of national renaissance. It's not just a dam. It is a symbol of Ethiopian dignity, hope, and self-reliance. It is also, I think, it represents the largest infrastructure in Africa. So GERD is the hydroelectric power. I think there are about like 60 million Ethiopians who doesn't have any electricity. So they use charcoal, burn wood to get an electricity. When I was a kid, I didn't have the opportunity to use light to study. So I am also like a victim of that darkness. But there has been so many misinformation, misconception to the international community, how like GERD will affect the environment, how it will hurt neighboring countries. And so as an Ethiopian, my organization and many prominent Ethiopians in the diaspora has been in the forefront to debunk that fake news. And so we organized webinars, debates. And so the whole point was to really bring the Ethiopian truth to the international community, that this is an African dam, this is a dam, this is hydroelectric power energy. So, and I think it is also a very fascinating project because this is completely and 100% financed by Ethiopians. Every part of like Ethiopians, from the poorest of the poor, like to the richest, contributed without getting any dime from World Bank or IMF. In fact, if we use this model, Ethiopians finance such the largest project, well, we can use that approach to agriculture and to healthcare, to education, not only Ethiopia, but the rest of Africa. I think if we approach that model, we could easily transform from like poverty to middle class social economy.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I feel like, just to add a few things, I believe this project is not only about creating electricity, it's also about creating that freedom across Africa, because such kind of mega projects is not usually seen when it's financed by its people, by its nation from the start to the end. And I feel like such kind of projects, when they are financed and supported by the people, for the sake of the people, then it creates some wave of consciousness across the globe, which leads us to the next question. You've somehow mentioned about the webinars, the debates that you and your team have been organizing when it comes to Ethiopians coming forefront and speaking their truth about this huge resource. So what are webinars, and what was the experience in organizing such kind of stages?
In the 21st century, so the most powerful power is like information, and the technology is at the tip of the fingers. Unfortunately, this technology that's so fast, everything is available at the tip of the fingers, but it is also equally damaging. So it's easily people use that technology to spread fake news. And it's also fascinating to see how the rest of the world was not getting the truth, because like Ethiopia had a dream to build this dam. I think as far back as during the era of the emperor. I think as when he was asked once why Ethiopia should not build this dam, he said, "Well, we don't have the money, but we hope our children in the future one day will be able to build it." So there are many dams in the world, and financed by World Bank and with the international donor communities. But when it comes to Ethiopia, that wasn't the case. So the disinformation is that say, well, if this dam is going to be built, it would reduce the water flow to Egypt and to other African countries, who use this Nile as the tributaries. And it would also damage the environment. But that was fake. So because in fact, other countries, they would have regulated water flow the whole year annually, and they would not be exposed to overflow. And there will not be any reduction of water flow to Egypt. So it's, in fact, all these countries could use in a very win-win principle and for mutual development. So our approach when we organized the webinars was like to bring the Ethiopian truth to the rest of the world. So this is not building like a nuclear power. This is a hydroelectric power to go from darkness to light. And I think in Egypt, close to 100% have electricity. People use the electricity. In Ethiopia, there are 60 million people who don't have access to electricity. How do they cook? How do they get their light? By burning wood and charcoal. So that was the truth. To convince, Western institution, Western intellectuals, this is a hydroelectric power to go from darkness to light.
Yes, and I feel like the idea, the truth that this project is financed by its people, solely by Ethiopians, Ethiopian diasporas that are living all across the globe, is not told well enough. And recently, in late June 2025, President Donald Trump said something very controversial about this dam, saying that US financed this dam. And the way, the tone, the intention of the whole message was somehow really confusing. So I hope you've seen the speech, the writings that the President Donald Trump put out for the world to see, to know. So what is your reflection on that?
That was really, it gave me a stomach ache. Because as Ethiopians, we are very proud people, and we respect others, but we have also our pride, our dignity.
Yeah.
We don't want to be like misquoted, and we don't want to be defined wrongly in a very wrong way. And the fact is, I have also reacted in the social media, through tweet and LinkedIn, that this is a dam solely built by Ethiopians, and we didn't receive any dime from the US or from World Bank. And I think in that tweet there were like two fake news. Number one, so this was a dam that was built by Ethiopians. Number two, this dam is not gonna reduce the water flow to Egypt or to other countries. So these two principles, these two views were misrepresented. And I think that was wrong. I'm not sure, like, whether the president has didn't have the information or whether he misspoke. And I think also in the message, it also, to a certain extent, it undermines underdeveloped countries. So, but to me, is Africa needs to learn from this dam. And this dam is not just Ethiopian, it's an African dam. And it is the largest infrastructure project in Africa. So if we just focus and learn from each other, we can find our own solutions to address our challenges. And so this is a very innovative banking system. Ethiopia is the second largest country in Africa. So we can raise, if we focus and if we have peace within each other, focus on development. I think the GERD represents that really finance is not an issue because that finance came within. It wasn't borrowed from outside. It wasn't delivered through helicopter. It was delivered within in the country. And I think Africa can learn from that, and the Western can also learn from that and respect Africa.
Yes, and that's what's happening right now, whether anyone's going to believe it or not. That's where the world is shifting. And recently, this idea will bring us to the next question. I have been reading different articles that scholars have been putting out, saying that the world is shifting. Those that understand will understand, but those that doesn't will stay behind. And the whole concept about the world dominance and the geopolitical spheres is shifting because countries, they're now not going to be powerful because they have oil or they have natural gases or they have, all of that. But now the world is shifting into water resources. So Ethiopia being well gifted by water, and not only Blue Nile, but we have a lot of water resources that we can further enhance for irrigation purposes, and also for other things that we can help our people come out of poverty. So what do you think about the water resources that we have as an Ethiopians, as an Africans, that we can use to create our own dominance in the global stage?
When we take Africa, I think Africa as a continent is one of the richest continents in the world in natural resources. Congo, South Africa. Africa has diamonds, minerals, and Ethiopia has water. I think the water power of Africa. And yet we see countries in many countries where they don't have enough water and yet use technology to advance their countries. I think the challenge in Africa is not to use the technology. Look how our farmers use to plow the land. A very backward system. And yet we have so many engineering schools, universities. We could not even transform that. And so we have so many rivers, but we have never tapped that to advance and to transform Ethiopia and to fight poverty. Yes, there are some efforts, but to highlight your point, but we have not really maximized all the potentials. Instead, we have become um, dependent. And I think
Mm.
like Africa is in debt. It's not mostly because Africa is in debt, not because they buy like agriculture machineries, because they build like state-of-the-art hospitals, not because they build state-of-the-art education, but there is conflict, and conflict does not produce like development. Conflict does not bring jobs. Conflict does not bring positive energy. Like in medicine, we say negative energy sits on the cell. But if we are serious and focus, we can learn a lot as a template. We can learn a lot from the GERD.
Mm.
Particularly like Ethiopia, we are lucky. We have like close to 150 million, 120, 30 million people. Look, a dollar is just, if everybody contributes a dollar, that's like one, just in a second, $150 million. So the potential the country has is enormous. The West know where we have the resources more than we know.
True, I agree.
So, and we need to, if you take like Africa,
Mhm.
is there any country where there is no conflict in Africa? Can we name one, two, three? I think
Mm.
directly or indirectly, like there is so much conflict is in many other African countries. Why? It's not just like 1 year, for years and years. In Africa, poverty means it's a survival issue. And yet, like, we have the resources, but we are not using our resources.
Yeah.
The future generation, like with this technology, I think where I'm encouraged so much is that in the past, somebody needs to leave the country to go somewhere, be educated or to get a job. Now you could be just in Addis there, and with God-given talent, somebody can become very successful and develop a new company, hire other people. If that is the case, Africans don't necessarily leave Africa. We need to focus on our resources first before other focus on it. It's just, I think the technology is there. Maybe one step further is like invest on our service, and peace is important. If we have that, I think the rest is easy to figure out.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are underestimating what we have, the potential that we hold on our hands. Because you've just mentioned, if each one of us contribute $1, it's like we have over $150 million within seconds, as you have said, which is amazing, mind-blowing truth. So undermining what we have is the biggest problem that we're facing right now as an Africans, as an Ethiopians. So that, I believe, can be solved with the mindset that we can create, believing that we're all diplomats for our country. It doesn't matter my background. I might be an engineer. I might be in the IR, in the PR sector. I might be a journalist, as what I'm doing right now. But understanding that we're all a diplomat can create that shift. So what do you say, especially as a diaspora living in the US? There are a lot of things that you're doing as a diplomat, representing your country, your people in the global sphere. So what do you have to say about that?
Obviously, it's very important where we came from, like Ethiopia, like our mosaic Ethiopia, because it starts like with home, you know, like our parents, our small area, then our country, then Africa, and then we become like citizens of the world, and then we get happy when man lands on the moon, like so. Any development with man, we are not narrow-minded. We don't believe like in a very restricted environment. necessary. We believe like we all like needs to believe in the beauty of mind, but at the same time, we also have to fairness is so important. So we demand Africa needs to be treated fairly and needs to be like equal partners, and that is good in business. A win-win approach is a more successful approach. So, like for example, me living in America, I have two hats, an Ethiopian hat and an American hat, and I serve as a bridge between America and Ethiopia, and also at a larger scale between America and Africa. So, if we operate in that fashion, then we can be a good ambassador, like where we came from, because that is the mother country, Ethiopia. That's where like my genetic material was buried, like in the soil. That de facto, where no matter whether I'm in America or in Africa or in Asia, my origin is Ethiopia. But I think, the challenge is to the world is greed. You know, like we witness so much money spent, like with war, with conflict, and yet like so many kids die with hunger, or there is no enough medicine for malaria or for COVID. We witnessed that during COVID. So we thought that COVID could actually be the best example for Africa, because everybody say me first. So like let me first help myself, and then if I have more, I will reach you out. So I think that was the biggest lesson for Africa. In other words, we all should like understand our responsibility. For me, like I am where I am, and I have what I have because of the Ethiopian people. I was educated there. So they gave me the boost. And so that is all indefinitely linked. It's like that umbilical cord tie between me and Ethiopia is always be important. And I think because I bring that value and character here to America, and of course, I would become a better citizen also here. So, through my organization, People to People, I actually developed a free clinic for the working poor in America. So, in other words, hey, you could grow up anywhere in Africa as a kid, and you could come here and be very productive member of society without any distinction, but at the same time, with respect, culture, and who we are. And so that's why I was a little bit offended when the truth was misspelled. Like, hey, we gave you the money, we built that dam, and it wasn't smart. Well, that wasn't the truth. So wait a minute, that wasn't the case. So like, our people, our people put the money, our people built that, and it's our pride, it's our dignity. So there needs to be like mutual respect. If there is mutual respect, I think we would become a better global citizens while we respect our identity.
Narratives are really important, right? Because every single thing that comes out, especially in this generation, is going to stay, which means the coming generation is going to see. And if there's no one that's going to prove it wrong, then it's going to stay like that. So the way we narrate our story, the way we stand out and say our truth, as we've been talking this whole time, is really important. And for that, media, the younger generation, every single one of us have our own role in narrating our own story as an Africans from an African perspective. So what do you say about narrating our own stories as an Africans, and also the role of media and the young people in that process?
I like your show. Number one, like the title.
Thank you.
Yeah, the title is also right. And media is like is a very powerful tool. People go to church And if they grow up with church environment, their knowledge about the Bible, about verses, God will be massive. Why? Because they have been exposed. If people get the information through the media, uh, then that would be part of their education. But so technology has a dark and a bright side. The 19th century gave us clean food, clean water. The 20th century, professionalism. The 21st century was information. So this information, there is clean and biased information. So what is most difficult is to sort out the clean information and the biased, whether it is a medical information or a news. How do like to find out that the truth information. Like we sometimes say, like to our patients when they come and tell us they worked hard and get some information, and then you say, "Where did you get this? Is it from the Google doctor?" People, and that may because it's so hard to sort out the biased information from the clean information. So when somebody says, "So we give money to Ethiopia to build that dam," and that was like a bad dam and that would reduces like water flow to Egypt. Well, that's a very bad pretext. Maybe down the road, if there is conflict, that could generate turmoil because a very powerful person said that that dam would reduce water like to Egypt, and it's not true. It's not true. And two things, it would not reduce, so other countries should not be like afraid of that. And it wasn't true that somebody gave money like to Ethiopia. But so media is so powerful. Imagine like one information, you share it like in Ethiopia, it could be like 30 million, 40. The power of media is absolutely like incredible. But the key is always like to sort out clean information and from like a biased one. I think that is the quality of the media. That's where the trust comes. I trust her show. Her show is good. I'm gonna like watch it. I think that's where the power is.
The reason why we brought up this topic, starting from the diplomacy to the water resource being the next, global wheel that will turn a lot of things, and then to the point where we have to narrate our own stories, is that Gardi is not only something, it's a Pan-African project. It's our second Adwa as an Ethiopians. And it's actually changing the perspective that we Africans have towards our own resources. We have to be able to use them. We have to be able to utilize them. So thank you so much for giving us your time, for being able to share us your own angles on the questions that we had, for answering them, for being a proud Ethiopian, for contributing what you can. So lastly, what I would love to say is if you have anything that you want to pass on to our audience, and also if there are any movements, any kind of things that are happening there in the US regarding GERD, then let me give you the chance and then we can conclude.
Interesting you mentioned Adwa. And every Ethiopians, not only Ethiopians, like every colored people, anywhere in the world appreciates like Adwa. So defending our service, defending God is like defending our pride. So it's so true, like the GERD is, another Adwa. Adwa was defending pride at the border. So GERD is like defending our, like, we are like our hope, we are as a nation, and that, this is a very innovative strategy how to finance such the largest project like in Africa. So it's almost like, remember, like to win a war, you have to have two generals, and one needs to be superior to be the other one. So that's what happened in Adwa. So like, which was fabulous. And here was like, the people of Ethiopia, they said, hey, you refused us to give us the money to build this, and this is hydroelectric power. It is like, and they will find our way, and the people come up with it. So it's really like, I completely agree with you. Like, so this is another like the second Adwa.
I really appreciate your presence. Thank you so much, Dr. Anauko.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So guys, as we conclude this week My Africa Show, what I would love to say is every single one of us are diplomats for our own country, our own nation. Understanding that will help us create that dominance that we can have from the geographical location that we're in as an Ethiopians, as Africa, as an Africans, and also being aware and creating that consciousness, because that exposure is what helps us to defend our own truth. And our diplomatic ties will show how strong we can stand, how tall we can be in that global stage as an Ethiopians. And GERD is one of the most significant mega projects that we are so proud of as an African, and we'll keep doing amazing things as long as we are united and focused, as Dr. Anaga has mentioned. Thank you so much for staying with us on this week My Africa Show. I'll see you guys next week. Please feel free to let us know for our social media audiences to share us your opinion below this video. And for those of you guys who are watching in different part of Ethiopia, share us your own opinion on Short Sesame 6121. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Goodbye.